don't touch anything.
It's the greatest find yet. Nothing compares to it.
But it's definitely something you should hear.
This is The Real Deal with Larry Lawton.
Welcome to The Real Deal with me, Larry Lawton, and our special guest who I love, and we started the day early. So we are starting this podcast about 2.5 hours after Bobby got here. We have Cabby Bob in house, probably one of the smartest guys, and all kidding aside, one of the smarter guys I know, him and Tellini. So you have to do that Angels, whatever the fuck it was.
The Devil's Breath.
The Devil's Breath. No, Tellini's very smart. Anyway, we got Cabby Bob. We're going to go over a bunch of hot topics. Bobby is probably one of the best researchers. Let me tell you why I'm going to say that, and all kidding aside on this. I gave Bobby the proof of my book. You know, I adopted maybe one or two I didn't because I changed words beforehand. Great stuff. And you know who did great too?
Who's that?
Silverman.
Judge Silverman, yeah.
Judge Silverman, man.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you guys got to see these rings I'm going to get you. Like the guys who helped me with the book.
Oh, okay.
There's these rings with the crooked diamond. It's pretty cool. I'll get them for every, they're making them. It's pretty cool. But we're going to have a lot of fun with that. And first of all, everybody, we are going to have a great show. We got Cabby Bob. We're going to be talking about Diddy, the political stuff, local stuff. We're going to talk about anything and everything, even the playoffs with the Yankees and the Mets. And so we have a lot to talk about. But first, before I get started, please, let's thank my sponsor, Oliva Cigar, man. They are the best. As you can see in the background, there's boxes of them. Oliva is just a great family company. After going out to Nicaragua, Bobby, I learned so much. And I met AJ Fernandez. I met all the big wigs, man. Rocky Patel, AJ Fernandez. I'm hanging with them, partying with them.
That's cool, yeah.
And what I learned is, first of all, we're all cigar lovers, just like me. Shit, I'm older than a few of them, so I was smoking longer. I've been smoking cigars for 42 years.
Damn.
That's a long time. Not as long as my mother. She's been smoking cigarettes for 70. She's 90. She'll be 92. So she was 19, she said. So she says 70. How many years? 73. No health issues.
Yeah. Yeah, she looks great. I just saw her. Yeah.
No health issues.
I know.
I got screwed on that deal, man. I'm telling you, I got screwed on that deal. But anyway, we're going to get into a bunch of stuff today, Bobby. And here's why I wanted to ask you a few questions. First of all, we're going to have differences of opinions. And let's set the record straight. Bobby knows I love him. He's great. Knows wife. He's really good. But we do debate a lot. And I do enjoy debate. And Bobby's the one guy I make sure I know what I'm talking about. I do. I mean, some of these morons, you fucking just read a headline. Most people do that, just read headlines.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Yep.
And you don't. I mean, and, we call him Cabby Bob. I'm not going to tell you what he really does, but Cabby Bob, because when he was younger, he actually worked for car service, and we called them car services back then. And he worked for one, and he has a whole bunch of stuff about that. That's cool stuff. People still say, hey, well, that guy drives the cab. He don't drive a cab, guy. But I get it. First of all, our own cigars, Oliva Cigar, are out. Guys, check out our ashtrays. This is that Malmonite. You know that? It's like that's. It's a light. See how
it's
really
light,
nice,
but it's very firm, very
Oh
strong.
man, very good. Did great ashtrays. We got lighters, ashtrays, cutters. We have it's Christmas time, so we're going to be giving like big time, like a discount coming up and all that. We're working on that this week, so that is happening. We got it's funny, Bobby, because every time I always say to myself, I'm slow down. I'm 90% disabled vet. I'll probably be getting my 10 more. Actually, I'm 93. When you hit 95, you're automatic 100. Mm-hmm. And I'll probably get that next few months, 3-4 months, whatever it's going to be. And
you're 93 or 63?
I'm 93.
You're 93%. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. And how it works in the VA, if they round it up or down. So now if it hits 95, it goes to 100.
Automatically. Okay.
Right. If you're 92, 3, it goes to 90. So you don't need as many points. Because the system is a fucked up math system, you can imagine. But it's actually pretty good. And I've been in the VA for, since 1986. That's when I retired. I mean, man, holy shit.
I know. The time flies. I went back to the Bronx. I was up 2 weeks ago.
We all were, yeah.
And so I went to a wedding in Yonkers. The wedding was in Port Rochelle. The hotel's in Yonkers.
Raceway.
Yeah. So I look up the address, and I go, man, I'm 7 miles from where I lived in the Bronx. Now, I haven't been back to the Bronx since probably 81, right? My wife had never been
you
there.
don't go back?
No.
Is there nobody there?
Yeah, there's nobody there. So my wife and my daughter said, man, we really want to see, where you live. So drove down there, drove through the old neighborhood and everything. It was awesome. And I said, I've been gone, moved out of here 49 years ago. That just makes your head spin.
Wow.
Yeah.
You see, like, I go back a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken film crews there,
Yep.
and things have changed so much. I'm not going to say who, but my Nick was so funny. Now you know our guys, my friends,
Dennis
people, and they are zero prejudice. They really aren't. I mean, they're Bronx kids. And Nick goes, "Did you hear what he said?" He goes, "Yeah, you hear these two dot heads moved in, like, you know what I mean?" Like, and I'm like, "Oh my God, you can't say that." I just did, but but it's like, because Chris Hollyfield, we were just talking about it beforehand. I know Chris very well. He's been on here a lot, and I asked him once. He goes, "Larry, I don't give a shit what you call me." He goes, "We were getting thrown down bowling alleys." Think about it. I mean, it's what you intend. Does somebody mean spirited? It's the way you say it. You know,
and what the intent is. Yeah, I mean, somebody can come up and, "Hey, Bobby, you're an asshole," and then the next guy calls you a jerk, and so, "Well, you're mean and saying the jerk." Yeah, exactly.
100%. And and it just, I always called. We lived in the melting pot, and listen, we didn't care what you were. If you lived in that neighborhood, you were good.
Exactly.
If you didn't, you were no good.
Right.
And I remember throwing Molotov cocktails onto the jetties and making the fishermen jump in the water. Because of the fire. Under the bridge, the Frogneck Bridge. I know that's pretty bad. And I'm the good guy now, everybody. Just so you know, I want to get that clear. I am the good guy. Now we're going to talk about a couple of topics. First, I want to get on let's get on the presidential topic. Okay, sure. I very, very rarely come out politically really hard. I mean, everybody knows I'm a libertarian, which is the middle of the road of everything. But this is one election, and I'm not a Trump fan. Let me get that straight. But I'm so bad. It's like another election. Like, who's the worst you're going to take? Does that make sense?
Well, exactly. And that's the funny thing is, and show the shirt.
Cigar and a shot while you're doing it would be great. Okay. Or Kyle could be our bartender.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go, Kyle.
So got this shirt, says "fuck them both."
I love that shirt. Look at it. And fuck them both 2024.
Yep. And I wear the shirt around to the bar, and I'm like, if anybody comes up and says, "Hey, that's an offensive word," whatever, I'll give you that respect. I'm not going to wear that around kids or whatever. But the vast amount of people, and I haven't had anyone complain, but I mean, they're all like, "I love it. I love it." Women stop, the SUVs in the Publix parking lot. "Hey, man, I love your shirt. I love your shirt," right? Because the way that I look at it is, you really have a choice right now between two horrible candidates, and that's just not my opinion. I mean, the vast amount of people feel that same way. And how the hell do we get there? And like we were discussing earlier, right? The problem is that this country is not a pure democracy. We don't even get really to choose who our candidates are, because that's really what the issue is.
Political parties,
the primaries, right? You get this and you get that. And I did some research about the primaries, since everybody was complaining and saying, "Oh, Kamala shouldn't have it," and all. Right?
I agree with that, though.
Right,
but we'll go into that in a minute.
Right. But when you really take a look at it and the way that the Constitution is, because I've even heard people say that it's against the law, it's against the Constitution. The Constitution said nothing at all about who can vote, right? Until 1870. And so the 15th Amendment is the first time that...
It was 1870, so it was Grant president?
Yep.
Yeah, it was Grant.
Yep. Yeah, so Grant's the president. But, what happened with that was they all couldn't come to an agreement on how a president's going to be elected. I mean, so there was nothing at all in the Constitution about who can vote, who can't vote. Purely the states' rights. And that's what I think was the 10th Amendment said, you know what, it's all states' rights. So finally, in 1870, they addressed it in the 5th Amendment. That's when they said to the blacks, you can't discriminate on race. Then they addressed it again.
But they were a half person back then, weren't they?
3/5.
3/5, whatever it is.
But not 3/5 for census counting, but they were not able to vote.
Right, until after Jim Crow, wasn't it? I don't even know.
Well, in 18, that amendment allowed them to vote, but again, that's where the I think it's the 24th Amendment with the poll tax in 1964 to that. So really, the Constitution addresses who can vote 4 times. It says blacks can vote at the 15th, then it said women with the 19th, and then it said you can't do a poll tax, and then it allowed
the women. It has to be after 1920.
No, it was 1920. That's when it was ratified. 1920.
Wasn't the women got granted vote in 1920?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So if women,
it was the 19th Amendment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in 1920.
Wow.
Yep. And then they said no poll tax because that's how they stopped the blacks from voting in the South. But the whole point is that it was purely up to states' rights, right? So now what the big problem is, it comes into the primaries. And that's what everyone's saying. Well, it's illegal what they did with Kamala. But here's the thing about the primaries, right? The way that the presidents were decided, and again, we're talking about states' rights, that's when it all started out. That the states would gather together delegates of their parties, and they would decide each one, hey, who's going to run for office. So everybody agreed on Washington the first time.
Go ahead, Bob. I'm listening.
But the thing is that the first elections, only 5% of the population of the United States was even allowed to vote. And that's what's staggering when we say that we're a true democracy, right? So the history of the primaries is in 1952, that's when the states were getting more primaries instead of just those big old caucuses where everybody gets together on a national level and says, okay, who wants to be president? Kyle, we're going to pick you, right? So in 52, the Democrats, Estes Kefauver, they had 15 states had primaries. Estes Kefauver won 15 of those primaries, and then they went to the 15 of the state primaries. Then they go to the convention, and they go, you know what? We don't want him. We want Adlai Stevenson, right? So that's the way that it started. But in 1968, this is really the one that changed everything. So the Democrats are running. LBJ says, I'm not running, right? I just had it. I don't want to run for president. So Bobby Kennedy goes up against Eugene McCarthy. Because McCarthy was
I remember that.
Johnson.
Yeah, I remember. I read about it, of course.
So Bobby Kennedy gets assassinated, throws it into a free-for-all.
68.
Now the guys in power say, well, now we want Hubert Humphrey, right? Because he's the next guy behind Johnson. This guy McCarthy is a little bit quirky. They go into the primary area. Now, the voters, McCarthy had over 2.9 million voters already. Humphrey.
Then Nixon.
Well, no, I'm saying for the convention, 2.9 million people already voted for him. 150,000 voted for Humphrey, and the delegates said, no, we want Humphrey over him. So you never really had that power. So in 72, they really changed the rules as far as that go. But if you remember when Hillary ran with the Democrat against Bernie, they changed the rules. And here's the actual rules that I found out. I looked up today, right? And you got to do some digging. You go online, but it's not that difficult. So for this year, 2024, in order to get the Democratic nomination, they have 4,969 delegates, right? So you figure you need 51% of those. But 767 of those or something, they're what they call superdelegates. They can vote when they want, or they can't vote in the first ballot, they can in the second ballot. So essentially, without boring you people with numbers, if you win 31% of the delegates, then you can become the Democratic national nominee because the superdelegates will vote for you. That is taking the vote out of the people.
Yeah, but Bobby, that's not law. So what?
There is no law. There is no law.
I was just going to say, because you remember back when a Taft ran a second time, he was with the Bull Moose Party, and I mean they did a run like they all do from Ross Perot. They all go for a run at it.
Right.
How do you break it? Is it the money? Obviously, but there's no set law like what you just said. Okay, you have to be. I can't stand the law that I can't vote in a primary in this county. Because if you are a Democrat in this county, again, I'm a libertarian, so I cannot. Well, I can't vote anyway. But my point is, if you're a Democrat or a libertarian, you can't vote, and no matter what, whoever hits that Republican primary wins the election. Let's face it. I mean,
in Florida?
In this county.
Oh yeah. This county is very red.
So my point though is, we're not being able to pick somebody.
Right. The rules are skewed against you because that's what happens.
And that goes to gerrymandering too. I can get into that.
Well, yeah, everything.
Because that's why it's so strong.
But that's really where the setup comes. So the parties still have such a heavy thumb on the scale of who decides for the candidate, and then the people become sheep and say, well, I have to vote for one of these two, right? I have people come up when I wear that shirt, and I have another one that says neither 2024. And they go, well, then who can you vote for? You can't vote for anyone else. Well, yeah, there's plenty
I had
of
him on this show.
Right. I could vote for myself. I could do whatever.
Vandermeer.
Yeah. Yep. But, here's the other interesting thing about, I thought about when we are saying this is a democracy. You and I are born the same year. And by the way, Larry celebrated his 63rd birthday.
How to do that, huh?
Back on October
After
3rd.
60, we all don't count, That's what I
Don't
say.
worry, on Sunday I'll join you there, buddy.
Is it this Sunday? I thought it was last Sunday.
Yeah, no, Sunday the 20th. The same day as Kamala Harris. I'm surprised you don't know her birthday there, Larry. I'm really
Hey,
shocked.
listen, 420 is Hitler's birthday.
That's right.
Let me ask you a question. You made a good point there, but how do you fix first of all, my problem with the whole thing with Kamala Harris, and not only her record, I'm not going to even get into that this minute. How does a person not even win a primary or not even come first top 3 in a primary?
You don't have to, according to the rules.
I know the rules.
Right.
My point is, how did a voter stand for that? If I was a Democrat, and I'm not, but if I was a voting Democrat, I would automatically not vote for her because you didn't give me the opportunity. Do you know who I loved? I watched debates a lot, and I liked, what's her name? Gabby Gifford. Not Gabby, the girl from Hawaii.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii.
Yep.
Military veteran, disabled, Iraq, Afghanistan, whatever it was. Why? She was vilified.
Because she attacked her.
Because she's not part of that elite class.
That's what you have to do. But remember, so that's part of that whole two-party system, right? And Trump realized, because he put out feelers before to run, and he realized, you know what, you can't do it from the outside. So he went in and he challenged him from the inside. Now, to your point where you just said was that if you're a Democratic Party member and you say, hey, they put Kamala.
We don't want to.
Right. But that's what happened in 2016. Bernie Sanders put up a great show at the beginning.
He should have won.
But then they changed the rules. And that's how Trump won. Okay? Because there were 7.8 million voters who voted in the third party in 2016, right?
7.8?
7.8 million, which fell to 2.8 million in last election. So those are 5 million, and in 2020, Biden picked up 5 million, more votes as that, if you look at that. So it was a Democrat saying, you know what, you screwed us on Bernie Sanders, but I don't think that they thought that Trump was that close to win. I think Trump was shocked. Remember the night that he won? He walked out there on the stage like, what the hell
Are you kidding
just
me?
happened?
He didn't know what hit him. He didn't know what hit him.
Exactly. So, that's what happened was it was that apathy, it was that anger from the Democratic voters who said, you stole the primary from us.
Bobby, you just gave me some disparaging numbers, and I'll tell you why. A study was done on inmates. Every inmate equates to 4 votes.
Because they're a family.
Figure this. Larry Lawton in prison has an extended family and friends. If you say you're going to be hard on prisoners and this, you just lost 10, 12, 15 votes. Right. And then, of course, you have an illegal, illegal immigrant or whoever it is, and they get no vote. You know what I mean? But it equates to 4. At 2 million people incarcerated, I'm just giving that right, probably 2.3.
8 million votes.
That's 8 million votes. 8 million votes. That's why you never hear any of these candidates, I'm going to be hard on crime. I'm going to be hard on crime. You don't hear that anymore. I want to build prisons because it was a big failed thing. We all know that. Why can't a block of voters, because if you're only telling me 2.5 people voted, that number I just told you was back when I was in prison, which was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
What is it today? And I don't mean that number, but the population. Hell, you and I grew up. I remember when the population was 170 million people. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Now we're at 360 million. I mean, why can't we get more people either to the polls? First of all, I mean, I have my own solutions. It should be a holiday. You should have ID. I don't even understand that.
That to me is just so silly. You say you wouldn't need ID because
you need ID to buy a beer.
Right. Yep.
I mean, to do so many things, you need an ID.
But I know down here in Florida, if you show up without an ID, then that you have to vote, by a hand ballot, and those are put on the side. And then if the election came down, let's say they said, "Hey,
you mean a Gorbush?"
Exactly right. Then they would verify those ballots because I was the actual clerk who ran one of the precincts down there in South Florida.
I'm not going to talk about what you did, Mr. Bobby.
Well, yeah.
Nick talks about it every time we talk about elections.
He sits there and scolds me.
I swear to God he does, Bobby. He says, Bobby showed how they do it. Yeah, and I laughed because when you were coming on here, I said, "Yeah, you know, talk about how he did." Bobby was a poll watcher.
Yeah, not poll watcher. I was the clerk that ran the entire precinct.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Now, was that a paid position?
So actually what it was, I decided I wanted to work in election. I figured I'll just be one of those, people who sits there and signs in and says, let me see your ID, Mr. Lawton, you can vote. So the interview on the phone lasted about a minute and a half. They said, what do you do for a living? So I told them, I'm a manager and I do this and that. I said, well, you're qualified to be a clerk, which I thought, well, that's awesome. A clerk, I can sit there and get signed names. I'm happy I'm qualified. So I go now down to a class, and the clerk is the person who runs the entire precinct. So I have the person who's deputized for the day reporting to me. I have an IT person. I have an assistant clerk, and like the four.
Every precinct has this.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yep. I'm sure it's the same way.
Oh yeah. So I mean, and the training was was decent. A 3-hour class or whatever. And then we actually did one of the primaries, and then we went to the main election.
Did they ask you about ID?
So that was part of the thing, and that was my call. If you get to vote with the ID, right? So if you show up without an identification, right, then you have to vote by the hand ballot that it was. And that's what I say. So now it comes down and they go, hey, there's a 10,000 difference. Well, we got these ballots over here. Now we have to go and verify all those ballots.
Gets down to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How much? Now, listen, I am not, let me emphasize this. I am not a conspiracy theorist for the most part. The older I get, you can't tell me there's not finagling going on with what you just said.
So there's always a little bit of finagling, but think about this.
Always a little bit. That sounds like the mob days. You were close to the mob anyway. I mean, doesn't it? Just a little robbing over here, a little bookmaking over here.
All right, so we know your famous motto and all, right? 3 people can keep a secret.
Salute. Yeah. First of all, salute. Kyle, thank you. We got Kyle in house too, watching the show. He's a friend of the show, and we're going to have him. He's embarrassed to come on.
He is.
Embarrassed.
We get him drunk and he's over.
But anyway, to your point, right? 3 people can keep a secret if 2 are dead. Think about it. This county is completely different than the next county, right? Mm-hmm. So now you've got to get, and then each precinct, right? Because, I mean, I would have to be involved in it somewhere unless they did something really shrewd with the machines, right? Because I get those machines, I have my count, I paste it on the window, I'm supposed to check and make sure the numbers I reported match up. But again, the conspiracy theorists say, well, it's something in the machines. But there's all different machines too, right? There's different ways. There's hand ballots, there's punch machines. It isn't like every county uses the identical machine, right? So when you look at that, you're saying that's got to be awful complicated. And especially when you have like, this is a Republican.
I was just going to ask you, did they ask you what party you were affiliated with?
I don't believe that they did, but.
I mean, that would have to say, I mean, let's face it, if you're I was a young Republican. Mm-hmm.
Well, it was exciting then, right? I mean, we got the vote for Reagan. And,
that was my first vote.
Everybody was pumped. And that day when he
I was in the military.
Yeah, people said that. You're the one who said that to me.
The what?
I said that Reagan movie was great.
Reagan was not great.
The movie.
Oh, the movie. Because I'll tell you some things he did.
We understand that, especially get older. So, here's something interesting I said. I thought about. So we're both born in 1961. We've had 12 presidents. Right, we're talking about this democracy, and listen, I'm not demeaning the United States in any way.
We love our country.
Love the
Everybody
country.
in this room. I'm telling you, we talked about that before.
But there are flaws, and there's definitely flaws with the concept of democracy. So we have 12 U.S. presidents, and we are the beacon of democracy. Now, think about this: 12 in our lifetime. 2 of them got into office without ever receiving any vote at all.
Ever,
right?
I know.
And then you have 2 more, that were shot while in office, right?
There were 4 shot in office. 8 died. No, I can go into
No, I'm talking about since we were born.
We were born.
Since we were born.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you have 12 presidents.
3.
Right? So 2 are shot. 2 are impeached.
3.
Who's the 3 that were shot?
Kennedy, Reagan, and Trump.
Trump's an ex-president.
Oh, good one.
Right,
Yeah.
But that's my point, because I'm getting to Trump. 3 top candidates during the primaries were shot. Trump got away lucky with the year. Bobby Kennedy died. And George Wallace was paralyzed for his whole entire life.
Those are the guys who are candidates.
Exactly. So you have these presidents, and I said, out of 12, think about it, 58% of them were either got in without being voted, they were shot, they were either impeached, or they were chased out of office. That's a huge percentage in just our lifetime.
Well, only 2 presidents have been impeached, so...
Right, but then you also had Nixon removed, right?
But he didn't remove, he resigned. Let's get it right.
He was pressured. The legalese there, Larry's got to do that.
That's my background. Nick hates that, boy.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't mean that to be funny, because that's why I'm on the Diddy case the way I am.
Yep.
Is because I believe, and here's what I said, and somebody wrote this in one of my posts, but we're going to get, let me not do that, but remind me on that, please.
Yeah.
It's because it's a pretty good what he said. Yeah. But my thing with the Kamala Harris, and I'm only bringing it because she's running, and listen, forget her record. I mean, that's for people to look at.
Yep.
I can't understand how the party just pushed her, literally, Bobby. There's where your democracy goes down the window, out the window.
But she's the puppet. She's willing to do.
That's scary, isn't it? But isn't it scary? Who's running the show?
And that's so part of my argument, because like I said, I try to be the centrist and I play the devil's advocate.
I know you do. Yeah.
So when I hear everyone saying Kamala this, Kamala that, and I'm going, well, wait a minute. First of all, Vice President's very, very weak, right? And you weren't attacking Kamala before. And I even said this to some Republicans.
I was.
I said, so.
I was.
Oh, yeah, I know. So I said, if the Vice Presidents are so strong, as you're saying, maybe Mike Pence was the secret to Donald Trump's success, right? Maybe he was the genius behind all that. And of course, you get laughed at. And I truly believe that Kamala wasn't
you're throwing a conspiracy
I am.
right out there,
sometimes
boy.
I get over that.
That's an Alex Jones conspiracy.
I was up in New York, and my brother-in-law is a hardcore right, and I just had to stir up the shit. And I kept saying the whole weekend, oh, Trump's going back to Butler. I guess they're going to do another failed assassination attempt and fix that. And finally he goes, what do you mean? How can you say that? I go, wait a minute, think about it. This is so perfect. You get the shooter, right, that nobody's ever heard of. He has no social media presence.
No social media as a young kid.
Yeah, and all of a sudden he evaporates. He said, well, what about the fireman who died? I go, oh, you didn't read? I go, he's got a place down in South America the CIA gave him. I go, he was a fake death, right? And I said, and prove this. I go, Trump, there's no scar in his ear, and you see him go down, and 2 nights later, who's he hanging out with at the Republican convention? Hulk Hogan, master of the fake blood. That was fake blood.
What a conspiracy. He built that one good. That was a really good built conspiracy. Again, I am
and
not.
And it's all bullshit.
I know. I am not listen, I'm getting, the older I am getting, I do question. I question so much. Listen, we love our country. But if you sit here and you think we're like you said, a fair, just like the Khashoggi.
Yep.
How about the United States going to Panama, taking jets, and I know one of the pilots that will buzz in the city, and to go get Noriega. They went in there militarily to go get a president of a country.
Why did they do that, Larry?
Well, because supposedly drug dealer.
So,
wait, why aren't we going to Africa to get these guys who do genocide at 200 million people or 100 million people?
Because there's no interest in that.
What I'm getting at is listen, you want to go presidents, Ronald Reagan, Iran-Contra, arms and all this and drugs. He should have been arrested by one of the countries and put in prison.
So that Iran-Contra is exactly...
We're just the big dog on the block.
Oh, yeah. But
it is.
But Iran-Contra is exactly why Noriega was arrested, right? Because he was funneling those arms. And if you remember then...
It was an American operation.
Exactly. But during the second term, Reagan didn't have the Democratic Congress, right? So Reagan wanted to keep funding that war.
And he had Alzheimer's.
Yep.
He really did.
Yeah, so I mean, the guys behind him, Jim Baker and all those guys.
Nancy Reagan.
Yep, with their astrology cards. Oh, my God. Noriega is a Gemini. Them people are evil.
You're bringing back memories, man.
But anyway, so what happened was that the vote was going to come up in Congress, and the Republicans and Reagan, they wanted that funding approved. So what they did was they had a huge boat full of Russian arms sitting in Panama Harbor, and the vote that week was in Congress, and what they told Noriega was, hold on to that boat, right? And like 2 days before the vote, you all of a sudden grab this and we can prove that Russia was sending all these arms over here. That boat came from South Africa, which went through Israel, right? Israel had seized a lot of the arms in one of the battles or whatever, right? So you have this thing sitting
and they double-crossed them.
Right. Well, no, what happened then was Senator Bob Kerry, not John Kerry, but Bob Kerry from Nebraska.
I know.
He said he was going to indict Noriega for all this. And Noriega called the powers that be and said, listen, that guy indicts me. I'm spilling the whole damn beans, all right? I'm not going down. And the next day, the helicopters appeared. All of a sudden, he was an enemy.
Jets.
Well, but I mean, everything came down over there. Jets, helicopters, everything. And then he ran to the papal nuncio's house, and they sat there blasting Van Halen all night.
Well, what happened, I know one of the pilots that actually buzzed the city. I golfed with him in Boca Raton, and he's actually I won't say he was, I think American Airlines or but fucking on the sauce too. Jesus, I know some shit, man. I don't want to get on these planes. But anyway, he said we buzzed. He did. They buzzed the city to scare them 100 feet over the wires, and they were breaking windows.
Oh, sure.
On purpose. I mean, and then actually that's, they didn't get any pushback. Now, listen, people don't notice. There's only one country in Central America that doesn't have an army. And
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Should we be allowed to go down there and just muscle them?
No, certainly not, because that's in violation of international law and everything. But if you go back in history, right, that's what England did, Britain, when they ruled the seas. And
we could go to history.
We're like
they
the
all just
bastard
conquer everybody.
Right, but I'm saying that we're like the bastard stepchild. We inherited that and go, we can do anything.
Inherited? We stole it from the Indians. Don't get me on that track.
But the country?
America.
Yeah, not what I meant. I meant we inherited that world as world policemen, and we can walk in anywhere and say I'm with the FBI.
I don't think we inherited. I think it was after World War II.
Yeah, oh yeah. And we took over that mantle.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I think it's pretty smart to have one big boy in the block, so to keep this beast. But we're at such a precarious time now with who has nukes, who has this, who has biological weapons. You guys, I'm not going to talk about the industry you guys are in. You probably know a lot more than I do, that kind of stuff. And I look at this and I say, why there is so no balance. There's no Russia, Ukraine, and this, and Israel, and Pakistan, in Gaza, and all that kind of stuff. Where do you go as a country? See, my problem with the country, and I will say it, we have a broken criminal justice system. Anybody wanted to debate me that, please come on here. I will show stuff the broken criminal justice system, sure. And we're gonna get right now. This is my segue. So, but to get on to Kamala, I still think there should be laws passed or something passed where they can't do what they did to circumvent the real voter. If you really want to listen, you know this, Bobby, and even Kyle in this room knows. I don't know if he knows it like you do. Nick, don't vote.
Right.
Listen,
a lot of people don't. You get
no, but I mean, you remember how mad I got at? Remember one of the shows? I blew up, and I'm trying to be reasonable and I'm stuff. I thought I was right, but the more you think about it, that just shows all these young people this is not fair. Why should I go vote? I went to the primary. Listen, she wasn't even in the top 5, I don't think.
Right. Well, she didn't.
Nobody voted for her in the primary. Let's face it, Bobby.
She was the first one out back in 2020.
First one out. Yeah. She got slammed by
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard, and had no answers. And all of a sudden, she is the savior of the Democratic Party. I mean, before that, everybody, they talk disparagingly about. Right. And now all of a sudden she gets the mantle. It's like, oh, she just saved the world. Don't get me wrong. She's a good orator. She beat Trump in the debate. There's no question.
No question.
He blew it.
She spanked him.
He blew it. She just teased. You know what they did? They had practice, and they had a Trump lookalike.
Yep.
And all she had to do was just push his button. That's all they had to do. Push his button.
And he responded.
100%.
But you see, that's
crowd size.
Yep.
All he had to do is say, what did you do, Kamala? What did you do in your whole career? Give me something. Everything should have been that way.
Yeah, but I thought she left a lot of opportunities on the table too. Like, you knew the question was coming, and they opened up with, right? Because that's the problem with those debates, is that they never answer. So the first question of the debate was the whole question is, are we better off now 4 years ago? And she answers, I was born a middle-class child, and she just rambles on like that. When she should have responded and been prepared for it, right? If that was me coaching her, I'd say, you know what? This is September 10th, 2024. Let's go back to the world September 10th of 2020. Now, are you in a better place?
No, COVID.
Well, exactly right. She could have looked and said, we are in a better place now. Let's go back to September when unemployment was 8.7%, right? Let's go back to September when you were wearing a mask, and just go on like that and break that down. And you know what?
Yours.
She could have attacked Trump on a lot of other things, such as saying, you know what? Trump sits over here, with his
makers,
his numbers about how great that he did with the stock market. Mr. Trump, you did great. You got the stock market up 48% in your 4 years. Awesome job. Love it. But under Joe Biden and I, it's up 56%. Right?
Near 70, I thought. Yeah.
I mean, as of today, it was 56. So she could have gone on with that. But, so she left a lot on the table over there. And really, that's why I'm voting for neither, right? Because, I mean, I can tell you a lot about Trump's numbers and bullshit and that whole type of thing, and get in. I mean, like throwing the stuff at Biden where, hey, he's got the oil prices so high. The oil was great under us, right? When Trump got in, oil a barrel was $50 a barrel. By October, it was up to $86 a barrel. That's a global commodity.
Wait a minute.
Commodity.
Let's get this right.
Okay.
You do know gas prices don't correlate with the barrel price.
Sure it does.
They're supposed to.
Right.
They don't.
But
you
they
ever
react
see a
quicker.
price of go up and then it comes down in a year? I mean, it drops $50 a barrel and it drops 2 cents at the pump.
Well, but a lot of that is traded. Yeah, a lot of that is traded on the futures. But
Cameron.
But you will certainly say this as far as that goes, the price of oil and the price of gasoline is that the president doesn't have a whole lot to do with that. And the fact right now is that when you go with in 2024 the barrels per day, it is up 20% than the average under Trump.
Bobby,
20%.
Okay, but we can't do this because I'll tell you why. I think it's a whole show because I think we should. We have more in reserves than ever going to be needed ever. Yes, we do. We have the most oil. First of all, Alaska. I was in Alaska for 3 years when I was a Coast Guard. We could supply this country easily just with Alaska.
Well, we are right now. We're independent.
Yeah, we are totally, and we sell. I mean, we're a big exporter of oil. People don't know that either. And the oil industry, getting subsidies from the government and making money. I can go into that. But isn't it funny? Right now, we're 3 weeks away from an election, and gas dropped under $3 a gallon.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Oh, surprise! After the election, $3.50. And I own a big RV, Bobby. Trust me, I know gas prices, guys.
Yep.
I get 7 miles to the gallon. Trust me, every 7 miles, $3.50 or whatever it is.
Yeah, but the president doesn't have that much.
No, I'm not blaming him.
Because it's a global commodity, and obviously we know.
But he
what happened
does.
with Russia.
I mean, Trump made some policies opening up, the pipelines and all that, and I believe in that. Listen, and the only reason, Bobby, I understand there is climate change. We all know that. But what's the answer? America doing that when China and India, the two, $1.4 billion each, and they don't do shit. Our 360 million people means zippo.
Right, it's a small amount of people.
So
actually,
my point is listen, you and I will remember this. Kyle will remember this. When we were growing up, I never forget this because my grandmother moved to Florida in 1968. And, the keys won't be here in 2000,
right.
the levels of thing. And you remember, nothing. Zippo has happened. Nothing. I mean, of course, we got more storms and this, whatever. But we got technology now that gives you more warnings. And we can go on and on.
But Joe Biden controls the weather.
Yeah, stop. You stop. I knew he was going to do something crazy like that. I know him. So, Bobby, is there a fix?
So I think that what the fix has to be to fix this is to control it at the primaries, right? Now, Florida, a couple of years ago, or the last presidential election, they tried to put in the open primaries, right? Because that's really where it has to start, is with the primaries. Now, about half the states have an open primary, which means that...
Oh, they do?
Yeah, you as a libertarian, me as a Democrat, I'm registered Republican right now, right? But I can vote in the Democratic, and then the top two people, then they do a runoff, and that becomes their candidates, right? And it doesn't matter what party that it is, right? So that's really what has to be a lot of the fix and give it back to the people. So there has to be some laws governing the parties, but that's not going to change.
But don't you think there's a flaw there too? Because first of all, obviously, people who want something, a person who's getting checks or whatever it is from the government is going to want that, and there's maybe more of those. And obviously, the reason we have electoral votes, people don't know this, is otherwise New York and California would just, and Texas would run the whole election. I mean, there's so many people. There's so many people. There's 40 million people in California. It would be the 5th largest country or 6th largest country now. I mean, population, 40 million. Canada's got 40 million.
Yeah, but by the same token,
so I mean,
when you take a look at the electoral votes that people have, right, that it's
electoral votes are different.
No, that's what I'm saying. But as far as the electoral votes, right? So when you take a look at that right now, there are
435 congressmen.
Yep.
and 100 senators.
Yep.
535 of the legislature. Right.
But that's the way the allotment goes. So the minimum that a state can have is 3 because they have 2 senators and 1 electoral vote, right? There are 6 states that have 3 electoral each. You take those 6, that's 18 votes, okay? There's 4.7 million people who live in those 6 states.
Yeah, South Dakota, Wyoming, right? Something like that. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Now, Pennsylvania has 19 votes, and they have 13 million people almost. How is that fair? If you broke that down, because Wyoming is 585,000 people, and I don't mean to bore people with math, I apologize that. But think about that. That's per population, 195,000 people, they get an electoral vote. If you did that in Florida, we would have 117 electoral votes. So
Bobby,
it's
if
vastly,
you want to, but we can even go back to gerrymandering or state mandering, because let's face it, South and North Dakota is one state. They got 2 senators and
Right.
give me a break.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
the population of both of them is my block in the Bronx.
Exactly.
I mean,
there are 12 counties in Florida that have a higher population than Wyoming.
Wow. And you know, Alaska's I think Alaska's only got.
They have more people than Wyoming. Wyoming's the fewest.
You sure of that? Because Alaska, okay, it might be.
I checked it today.
Yeah,
so
no, then
I'm
you're
going to say
good.
I'm pretty sure.
Nah, he's pretty good about that. I want to check the book.
Kyle, look at that. Come over and
Kyle,
get ahead of him.
get that book.
He's our fact checker.
I'll tell you how I think they could change it. I don't know about, our system was set up to work slowly on purpose, so you don't make rash decisions. That's what the courts are made for. That's why laws take years, and people say why. Listen, if you just started changing things in the whim of the people or who gets elected, before you know it, you got a really crazy shit. We got so many laws on the books that are bullshit. You can't get a blowjob in this state. It's sodomy.
can't?
No, it's sodomy in certain states.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anal sex and stuff is sodomy. Fuck. What? Who don't like anal sex? I take the dildo out every night. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, I was going to say, man.
Only kidding, guys. There goes that.
Sleep on my back.
There goes that fucking show. No, the only way I really think anything can happen is if you do away with the parties somehow. Yep. Or here's my suggestion. We were talking to a bunch of guys one day at dinner. I says, if you took whatever people that had the most popularity, if you want to call it that, and gave them the exact same money, because money is what runs these things. Oh, yeah. And of course the Supreme Court ruling, Citizens United, screwed everything up, because now it's unlimited donor money. You know that.
Well, that's the whole point with the PACs, right? So
PACs were always like that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, so there's one PAC that just opened up. I forget the exact name of it. Elon Musk gave it like
$40 million?
$75 million, and he's the only donor. So that's not him giving. And here's the point that I thought of the other day. With
he's
Elon
allowed
Musk.
to do that.
Exactly. It's purely legal. But here's the point I thought about. I'm laying in bed. I'm watching TV. And, Elon Musk recently had...
I love him.
He speaks highly of you, too.
I hope so.
Yep.
I hope he comes on.
The next time I'm
Wow,
talking
you'd
to him,
like to
I'll
have a good
suggest
fun. We'd have some drinks with that dude. That guy's
guy,
smart.
That guy, you talk about, are you the smartest guy in the room?
He pretty much is.
Yeah, you can't compete
So
with
is
that
the guy I went on his show. It's not out yet. I think I mentioned it once. Lex Friedman.
Yeah.
He's a robotic. You know who Lex Friedman is? He's a robotics professor from MIT.
Yeah. But
a cool guy. Really cool guy.
But here's my point with Elon Musk, right? So think about this. He's now all in the Trump camp. But okay, I believe it, right? He wants his taxes and all of that stuff, right?
You think it's for that? I don't.
Well, what do you think it is for then? Because I have a theory.
I'll tell you why. I think he sees that this is our democracy is going down. He comes from South Africa. Remember that. So
that was a stamp.
He remembers apartheid and how it was and everything else. He's at that age. He has 10 kids, so I don't think he's wanting something negative in that. I think he has 10 kids or whatever it is. I think let's face it, Bobby. Money is not it. These guys worth $250 billion. It's unfathomable. You know that. I mean, it's just unfathomable. He's worth more than double the next guy. It's crazy. Huh?
Bezos is up there, but yeah, I mean, like you take a look at the top
150
three,
million, whatever.
Yeah.
My point is, I don't think it's with money with him. I really believe that guy sees the world in a bigger place than you and I maybe. Listen, he got more satellites in the sky than all countries combined. Did you know that?
Yeah.
All countries combined.
Smaller and the star.
All countries combined. Think of that. And when I see that and I say, this guy's about advancement, technology, all this, and he's seeing a way of our life that is being controlled. And here's where I'm gonna flip it, just so if you can catch it. Just your opinion on that. If we got rid of parties, would it help?
I certainly think that it would, or have multiple parties, as we saw out there in the French
We have
elections.
them. There's 10 of them.
Well, we do, but they're so minor. But we saw what happened out there in France, right? When the right wing made such a move, and they declared they have it, that the left ran over to the little bit more, crazier parties and said, "Let's form a coalition," right? So at least you're getting that balance. But right
back
now,
to the corruption.
well, but there's more balance, right? I mean, over here it's either you want steak or you want vegetables. That's your only two damn choices.
Listen,
At least
but
then
Bobby,
have something
if you want to make an election on class, I can understand that. People who make jobs or people who maybe live a little better than the next guy or whatever. And listen, I want everybody to get a step up. I'm all for that. Rob it, that's how I did it. My point is, if you made it just about that, I'd be okay. I don't like when we're taking parties and the powers that be, whoever they are, we don't know, are really running shit.
Well, they are, but the other thing you got to take a look at is that the more choices you give a lot of people, it's harder for them to decide.
So what you're saying is our electorate's dumb.
Definitely. I mean, I think that's proven, right?
Yeah, they've dumbed down our electorate for sure.
When you're sitting there and you're going up there to Asheville and you see people believing the bullshit that if FEMA gives you $750, they can seize your property, and they're getting angry at the FEMA workers. Listen, my stepbrother.
Oh, yeah, you seen that?
Yeah. And my stepbrother lives up in Asheville, and he just posted a thing. He goes, "This is bullshit. FEMA's been to me so many times. They're offering you stuff." And my brother, right, worked closely with FEMA. He was, down south of the fire chief and everything, and all the emergency responses and everything. He's worked with FEMA for 30 years. I never heard of them taking anybody's property, that whole type of thing.
You do know I used FEMA in my robberies.
No, I don't. How
Did you guys know that?
No, I did not.
Well, I used to go into a city or where I was going to rob. People are going to like this. And I had to have a great story. Most of my stories are, hey, I'm a FEMA official. I had a name card, and I'm here to assess damages of a hurricane that happened 6 months ago. And what do you? Oh, yeah. Well, we lost this money. We lost this. We couldn't get our diamonds in. I mean, a lot of things when you tell you're with the government or something like that. And I used FEMA a lot. And matter of fact, the FBI guy passed away. Really nice guy. Matt Mooney goes, "Boy, you come up with some shit, man. You were good at that shit." I said, it was a matter of just fooling the one ahead of you, in my game, to get to that next point where we're at. I just think, getting back to the political side of it, we really have to check ourselves as a country. I really think we're on a slippery slope. I really do, Bobby.
The people get...
we're old. We're dead.
Oh, yeah.
Let's face it. 20 years, shit, I'm gone.
So I'm gone. Right. So 20 years. So 8 years of that will be Kamala. And then...
you know what he's made me do, everybody? If you're only listening, listen to this.
Larry's going to go 8 years of Kamala. I'm checking out at 7, buddy, or 4. Yeah.
Get the rope.
Exactly. But if I can go back to the point about Elon Musk, what I think he's going to do you remember one reason he's in with Trump? A couple of days ago, maybe a week ago, he had all those taxis that he rolled out, the self-driving taxis.
Oh, and the robots? Did you see it? Yeah. Oh, my God, was that cool.
But here's, and Tesla stock dropped when he showed those. And the reason why, they said, we know he's coming out with this, but he's done nothing at all. And he is years behind on regulation to his biggest competitor. Well, guess what he's going to do when Trump gets in? Push my regulators, stall the other companies. That's what I think. Because the future is going to be, why would we want to own a car when Tesla has in Brevard here, I don't know, 10,000 vehicles?
Self-driving cars.
Yeah.
Literally.
Exactly. And it's just like Uber. I hit, send me a car.
So you don't like that?
What? I don't. The
self-driving car?
I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with if you've got the president in your pocket and he's going to stop the most developed cars and slow them down for yours. Again, that's what I think, because I'll tell you this.
Yeah, I think you're stretching it.
What is?
Bobby, I got to give you...
You're going to buzz me out? You're going to mute me?
No.
But listen to this. So DeSantis, remember when he announced his... you're making them... Are you going to make this? Bullshit. Because when DeSantis announced he was running for president, what did he do that on? He did that on Twitter, right, or X, with Elon. And weeks before that, there was a law passed here by the Republicans. If you want to buy an electric vehicle in this state, you have to buy it through a dealership. You cannot go online and buy it, with one exception, one company.
Tesla.
I will give you 5 guesses. You got it the first time, boy. You're good there, Larry.
You know, you just bring so much up in front of me. Ron DeSantis crashed the campaign quicker than anybody in my life by just going against the mouse. Are you crazy? The biggest company in the state of Florida, biggest landowner, biggest taxpayer, and you go after him over some bullshit, I don't know, gay guy. I don't even know what it was about.
It's a don't say gay law because they would criticize him.
Of course. He was doing good. He listened to handlers that were bullshit. We know that.
Yep.
But now I'm going to transition into something.
Yeah, let's go.
Here's my problem with such power in the government. And that's why I hate to say break up a country because you can't. But there has to be a way. And I believe in the state system. I do believe. Because listen, I don't believe in everything. But if I don't like living in Florida because of the laws of Florida, I can move.
Yeah.
You know, you don't like Alabama or Alaska or whatever it is, you can move. We have 50 states. We're the third biggest country in populace and, well, not landslide, but close in the world. What do you do, Bobby? Well, where was my what were we just talking about?
It's not the different states, and if you like one state, you go to another one.
How do you keep government? Here's my problem. Now I'm transitioning to the Diddy case. People are going to understand this, and I have different opinions than most everybody. And I've been getting pounded. I get hate mail now. I really do.
How can anyone hate you, Larry?
Fuck them. I don't give a shit. Buy me a beer. If you hate me, say you hate me, but just buy a beer. But I don't care. You know, I really don't. But sometimes you keep reading. You say, am I really off? You know, because I do answer. I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And on my big videos, I mean, I'll get 100 comments in 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And I'm like, why do these fucking people hate me? Are all of these people judgmental that quick? Here's my problem. I believe, and I'm going to say it, and you could give me your opinion on it. I think the government wanted those tapes. The government wants those tapes to use those tapes against the people in them. You know why I don't believe the pedophile stuff? I really don't believe there's going to be first of all, everybody, I do so much research on this. You're invited to the party. You don't just walk in, hey, I'm a good guy, you know. Right. You're invited to the party. The party, the freaky, whatever you want to call it, starts at 1, doesn't start at 9 with, oh, there's kids. That's all bullshit. And I really don't believe there's that many people that are really hiding all of the supposable pedophile stuff that's going on. I don't believe just pick any celebrity name you heard. Do you think every one of them are really into kids and doing that? I don't.
I certainly hope not
either.
You know?
And I just don't believe that. I think there's always going to be a modem of truth, some piece of truth in everything. I watch the YouTube and I watch newses all the time. And it irks me as a guy who studied the law for so long that everybody is judging. Listen, I think of it, and this is where I was telling you about earlier, I want you to remind me of. What a great comment. One guy goes, Larry, thank you for what you're doing. He goes, I would like to know that if that was me being accused, I would at least be assumed innocent or at least have to be, because everybody's got this guy hung already. I mean, literally hung. And I'm talking about defense attorney. There's defense attorneys I get so mad at. They're with the prosecutor, says, you're a defense attorney? You're not even bringing up that you need 2 people to be in a RICO. There's so many things there. Right. As a guy that does the law, I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like a CCE. A CCE is continuing criminal enterprise. You have to have 5. They're saying he has a CCE too. Now, unless he gets superseded, and that's a bad thing because the government is playing games again. Come at me with what you got. Don't come at me and then wait for more people to come out. I really believe the civil lawsuits triggered the federal government to say, wait a minute, there's tapes with very compromising stuff on them. Listen, Bobby, you know me a long time. I corrupted people. And I'm not proud of it. That's just what I did. That's my life. I used to do it. And I was good at it. How do you think I did that?
Well,
it wasn't money.
No, sex is one of the biggest ones.
Sex,
vulnerability,
drugs, relationships, and you have it, and then you can maneuver things, and you always give them money too, so they're getting rich, so and they start justifying things. But I can go on and on. Right. At what point why should the government have these tapes? Listen, anything at that party, in that, I read it. It's a 14-page indictment. I read it 3 times, more than 3 times, I think. And I went over it, really, with a fine-tooth comb. I could beat that indictment. I really could. Unless there's some things I don't know, obviously, discovery. But my point is, they don't give a crap. I got some paperwork I just got. I didn't read it for the show. I should have. They have actual documentation of the government playing dirty. Actual documentation. Hiding something and then lying about it and knowing they lied. So, I'm going to get it. I'll send it to you. So, you know what's the worst part? Listen, as a man who faced the United States of America versus Larry Lawton. Get the fuck out of here. You're done, right? You have the United States of America versus whoever with all the money in the world, all the time in the world, the people in the world. Listen, if they want a witness here, they'll send a fucking F-16. You guys know this shit in your business. They'll send an F-16 to go get somebody and have me here in 2 hours. Yeah. I heard of crazy shit. And can you do that? No.
No, you have no resources whatsoever to do
Nobody
that.
has that
see,
kind of resources.
I have a little bit different angle why the United States government would go after that, right?
Because he's not playing ball with them.
Well, he's not playing ball with them, but it's also a way to get ahead politically, right? These attorneys, like Rudy Giuliani, how did he make the name for himself? He went after the mafia, right?
He fucked his name up.
Well, he did when he got out. Yeah, he's a fuck up. No
what
question
a
at all.
moron!
But I'm just saying, when you're young as a prosecutor, right? The bigger deer that you go hunt, the big game hunter.
Well, that's the Southern District of New York.
Exactly.
They're notorious for that, though, guys.
Did you ever watch the show Billions? Did you ever watch the show?
Yeah.
Talk about the Southern District of New York, right?
The guy freaking shit. He was a freaking shit.
Yep.
And all of that stuff and the freaking stuff. And you know me, Bobby, really well. You give me cop. I don't give a fuck about that. I really don't. Listen, I wish I was at those parties. I swear to God. Give me free drugs. Give me some juice in the morning to get me back to work.
I was going to say that to you. When we went over to St. Pete Beach, you talk about the IVs.
Oh, I have a friend who owns a company that does
and
that.
that's what they do. They go around.
Vegas has a truck.
Right. They show up at your hotel and you go out and you get an IV for a half hour.
And it works.
You're dehydrated.
I have some friends around here who work in what is it, paramedic, whatever they call those.
Yep.
And
that's what they do.
They'll go, you need something? I say, get over here.
Right.
Man, I'm ready to party.
Yep.
Really, it works. It rejuvenates. It's amazing.
Yeah. So why? There's nothing illegal about that.
1,000 bottles of oil. So what? Tell me why that's illegal. I got so pissed when I read that in the indictment because it has zero legality.
But that's the history of the FBI. When I saw stuff like back in the 50s, right? Marilyn Monroe poses nude for Hugh Hefner, who we were just talking about that, right? But you actually see the FBI agents following her. You're a whore. You're a whore. I mean, what are you, freaking 8 years old?
Yeah.
But that's what they try and do is embarrass you. You have baby oil.
Again, there's my point. How do we fix a system that we all know? Like, J. Edgar Hoover corrupted the FBI. We know that. He had dossiers on everybody. Yeah. He really did. I mean, that's fact now. Yep. He was wearing a dress, but so was everybody else.
Well, he had the male lover who was his right hand man. They were essentially married, but you couldn't do that.
Listen, there's presidents just like that, too. I can go into that. I mean, I was just going over presidents the other day again. I don't know. I have a freak for that shit. I know their wives. I stop going crazy. I don't know why I do shit like that. I got enough to read, and I'm reading who the fuck gives a shit about Buchanan's fucking boyfriend because he was a single president. Yeah. But how do we fix it? And here's what I mean.
Well, you can't because you're human nature.
No, Bobby. Here's why
we're dogs,
I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the country. Because when I look at Nick and I look at young people, you've seen me have a couple of young people on. I made the one kid go to the school. You remember the bet?
The who?
I had a bet with those guys.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
I won the bet.
Okay.
More people commented, "Hey, you kids are idiots," so they, maybe you did. I hope you did. Get me, man. Anyway, and I made the one kid do a history class. And he actually said, that was pretty interesting. I mean, you can go deep in here. I'm a history buff. Yeah, but Bobby, how do you get those kids to come back? How? How do you get your kids? How do you get my kids who are just so disenfranchised? They don't give a shit. They're not getting anything.
As far as voting goes, you're saying.
Not only voting, participating. Yeah. We can't get people to run for office. Look what's going on.
Well, that's
we got
problem.
2 people that. Do you really want these people, President?
No, you don't. because they're owned by people. But I think that's
everybody says that, and I always ask the question, who?
Well, Elon Musk for one.
I think there's 3 Jews somewhere running this whole shit. I shouldn't have said that. Nah, you know what I mean. That's a joke. Everybody out there,
but the mechanism to apply for that ownership.
I think it's real.
Right. Yeah, but when I worked, one of my first jobs was 21, maybe 22 years old, and I had a part-time job up in New York, and it was a warehouse
Cabby?
distributor. No, this was one of my other part-time jobs, but this job, the guys were mob connected, associated with, right? That they ran,
you might know him.
You might. As a matter of fact, I told you Donnie Brasco when he in his book.
You know I interviewed him.
Yeah, you said that, right?
You got to look that up on my show.
But Donnie Brasco in his book, when he's writing about it, and he talks about his first job at the mob, that he went up to the town that I was from in Rockland County, New York.
Said he was a jewel thief.
And that's what he. But he describes it, and I'm like, that had to be the place I worked. I mean, there's only 2 shopping centers in Pearl River. How the hell can that be? But either way, those guys, because I was, the hardcore Republican at that time, 84,
Me
88.
Too, young Republican.
Yep. And the one guy came out, and these guys were Italian as all hell, and he goes, are you really foolish enough to think that this government is that honest? This government is just like the mafia. The only difference is, he said, you only have 2 families. In New York, we got 5 families, but think about it. This company runs the docks. This one runs the garbage.
True.
This one
Windows,
runs the garbage. This one runs construction.
Cement.
And he said it's the same damn thing. So that's the power mechanism, and then you buy into it and get that power. And that's why when people say, well, Trump's dealing with the mafia. If you're dealing in construction in New York, you have to deal with that.
He built the Woolman Ring in 6 months, and the city couldn't do it in 10 years. Right. Let's face facts.
Because they wouldn't go through the
They're not going to pay. They don't give a shit. But forget all that. We do agree that we have a problem, right?
Oh,
do you agree?
problem,
Everybody has. I think most people even listening say, yeah, lad, there is some kind of problem.
But we've had that problem since the beginning.
Not as bad. When I grew up and you grew up,
okay,
I wanted to go get my voting card at 18. I wanted to vote. I remember I went in the military at 17. And I remember I 79, I ran the hostages.
Yep.
With Carter.
Yep.
I remember coming out of I was in Yorktown, Virginia. I was in what they call boatswain school to become a boat captain.
Yeah.
And it was big. First of all, 18 was drinking limit, so we could all go to the bar. And then it was like, you remember your bomb Iran? Bomb, Iran. I mean, we were so patriotic. And we would come together, right or wrong. We'd come together. You too, like you said, you were gung-ho. I see 0 of that in the young people today. 0. What are we going to do when they don't vote? You made a great number earlier, and I want to bring it up again. You said 8 years ago there were 6 million or 8 million.
7.8 million people voted third party.
Right, and now it's 2 million.
It was 2.8.
Why? Why is it so low?
Because, as I said, I think what happened was now the highest that it was Ross Perot in recent times.
Oh yeah,
like
20-something%.
But anyway, so I think that to my point was that the disenfranchised Democrats said, you know what, we wanted Bernie, Hillary, you stole it. Screw you, I'm going to vote third party, and they really didn't think that Trump would win. Now they have a strong dislike for Trump, and they go, "Oh my God, this could win. Now I have to vote."
See, that's an anti-Trump vote, and I don't like that.
Exactly, but this time all we have is
anti-Harris,
but
maybe.
It's anti-Harris and anti-Trump, and that's why, like I said, with this shirt, right,
fuck them both.
People are saying, you know what? These are really
horrible
candidates.
We agree with that. How do you get young people? Is it education in schools? You know, our education in schools is so bad. Even drug education. When you and I grew up, they used to show the egg frying and this is your brain and all that. They don't do that. They don't do shit. I know. I'm in school. I mean, my program. You're not educated. So where do you think the kids are getting educated? Internet, other friends, and they're going to get whatever they want. Even if it was, you thought it was bullshit, the egg. It was something to put in your brain. Okay, this might not be good. You know,
I think
your dad, ask something.
Yep. But a lot of it, too, I think, to your point, was you talk about history, right, is how they teach history, right? American history is what? Right? Well, Christopher Columbus discovered America, and then John Cabot stopped by here in 1607. And meanwhile, the Spanish did shit down there in South America. And then in 1763, we fought the French-Indian War. Then we fought the Revolutionary War. And then there was War of 1812.
Well, you forgot all about 1490 Pocahontas when the Indians saved us.
Yeah, well, that was I put in there with Cabot, but you were 100% right there. We forgot about John Smith. I apologize.
Yeah.
Great man, but Pocahontas. I'm sure
Pocahontas saved America.
Or history tells us that. Yes, indeed.
Again,
Yep. Wait a minute. Saved America for whose viewpoint? Do you think?
Yeah.
You think the Native Americans view it that way?
Well, again, throughout history, though, we can argue that, but the victor writes history. That's just the way it's been through from the Romans to the popes.
With one exception.
Who?
The United States Civil War. The loser wrote the history starting in 1920.
Hold on. Nobody won that war. It's all American.
But the South lost the war, and they turned the whole paradigm of history and the whole, hey, wait a minute, here's these heroes, right? Here you have Robert E. Lee, who killed how many Americans, and we still support him.
Yeah, but both sides did
here.
that. You could talk about every side.
Understand?
I mean, you once you get to the Civil War, you could talk about the great generals and stuff. They're killing Americans. Now, however you want to cut it, they're killing Americans. Yep. So who should be up there? But listen. I think we're close to another Civil War. Did you see the directive that just came out today? I'm going to read it to you guys. Just today, a department was sent to me by a very reliable source named Paul Tellini.
Paul Tellini. He's a
30 years in the joint. No, Paulie did send, and it's legit. I went through it. The DOD.
Was he on Devil's Breath when he said
No, he wasn't. Yeah, he was on Tellini's stuff. This is
love you, Paulie, by the way. You're awesome.
We love Paulie. He knows that. Yeah, Paulie's my dog. The people don't know this. The president just put out a directive, and this went to the whole entire Department of Defense that you have authorization to shoot and kill if there's any unrest. Shoot and kill Americans.
I have to check that.
I will send it to you. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, that is against the law. I got to check.
It's against a lot of things.
I think it was.
You're never supposed to use the military against its own people. But Bobby, I read the whole thing. Believe me, trust me on that. I'm not the leaning on this, but I'll let you. And I watched some lawyers actually doing it on YouTube. So check it out. And it scares me because obviously, whoever wins this election, I think the other side is going to push to say it's bullshit or something's happening.
I don't think the Democrats are, but
oh man, come on! I think the Democrats are sneakier than you think. I really, and I'm not an anti. I was a Democrat for a long time.
So I think that a lot of that with what when Trump came in and everything, and you say they're sneakier, is remember that they were the
Trump just wide open.
But and Trump isn't a Washington insider, so when he does something, right? He doesn't know all the loopholes that are built in, whereas the experienced people in the Democrats, they've written the law, and they're
isn't that good, though?
Well, I don't know if it's good or not. I mean, for Trump?
No. Isn't it good for us that we get somebody shake up these freaking insiders?
Oh, no doubt. Listen, I was excited when Trump first ran because I thought he would truly be a centrist and say, listen, you clown.
He was a centrist his whole life.
He was. But then he realized in order to have power, he had to go a certain way.
He had probably 5 abortions.
Listen, listen. I'd met Donald Trump.
I met him 5 times.
Right? Ate a hot dog with him. He said, "Man, you got to come check out my helicopter and everything." Super nice guy.
Oh yeah, very personable.
Yep, yeah, very personable. But I'm saying, he wanted the power. All of a sudden, he got the power became.
That's what we can talk about his ego. I mean, that's out there. Come on. I mean, you talk about narcissist. There's a picture of him next to him in the dictionary. But forget him for that, because I don't think he's bad either. I don't think he's going to do something against the country. He has grandkids. He has kids. He don't want to see the country fall. I don't believe that at all. Do I think he wants to enrich himself? Absolutely. Do I enrich his friends and family? Absolutely. Yep. Along the way, he's going to enrich other people. He let out a lot of prisoners. I can go on to the good things he's done with prisoners, people, not only pardons, a zillion things he's really done. That I think at least
a zillion.
Listen, don't
Larry. I've told you 1 billion times not to exaggerate.
1 billion. Don't listen to what he says. Watch what he does.
That's what scares me.
No, it doesn't. That's what doesn't scare me.
Really? Okay.
No. Show me one thing he did that scares you.
I think his alliance with the religious right really scares the hell out of me. And I think that we're going to be...
They're just a part of the game, and you know that. He's smart enough to play with the part of the game that's big.
No, see, I look at him differently. I think that he thinks he's smart enough. He doesn't realize that he's a puppet, and he has to obey what the hell that they do. I think that his Problem is that he always has to be the smartest person in the room.
Oh, and he's never.
Exactly. And then he makes all these poor decisions. I mean,
He don't listen to anybody. That's his biggest
exactly.
problem. I mean, really.
Exactly.
I mean, if you want to get down to why Trump is what he is.
And he's dangerous. I mean, we've
I
talked
don't
about.
think he's dangerous. Why is he dangerous? What is he going to do to us?
Well-
What do you think he's going to drop a nuke?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Nah, come on, Bob.
General,
you don't believe that.
Well, I will tell you this much:
Mattis,
that without getting into names or whatever, right? You talk about third, fourth person.
See, I did my research too, buddy.
Yeah, but I'm saying that, you
I
know
love
somebody,
Bobby.
you know somebody, right? Who worked for General Kelly and stayed in touch with him while General Kelly was chief of staff. And General Kelly said, "Listen, the only reason I stay in this position is this man is that dangerous."
No,
And you hear the general saying the same thing.
I have, but generals are also wacko military people too. That they, still getting up at 6 a.m. and kicking recruits' ass at 60 years old because that's what they want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
there's
when
some
you take
crazy
those-
generals. I can go into MacArthur. I can go into a lot of people now. I go generals. You'll see some wackos.
Sure, but
Pershing, they got him a 5-star general. He was a whack job, man. Look at Patton. Patton was my uncle died under Patton.
Yeah,
my great uncle.
Yeah.
In the Battle of the Bulge. Patton would give up, thousands of men for 50 feet.
Well, the same thing with General Grant, right? That's what he found.
I'm not saying, listen, that's part of it. I don't think Trump is there sitting on the, if I don't get my way, I'm going to hit a button. I just don't think that.
Well, but
I don't think Putin's like that either.
I don't think, well, Putin, I think he'll bluff all right. Putin, as Kamala said, and I don't want to come across that I'm backing Kamala in any
No, I know
way,
that.
right?
I know that.
You know?
You're pretty much in the middle.
Oh, yeah. I am.
You always
and,
were,
and,
though.
and it's disgusted, with.
You're disgusted like I'm disgusted. But I, the only thing, and the reason I wanted to talk to you about all this was, you're a smart guy, and you really are, Bobby. I want a solution. I'm not saying you're fucking in a think tank
Right.
in
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
Washington,
yeah.
but you guys work in an industry that you guys see a lot. First of all, you see the waste, you see all that bullshit, and I don't get into that.
Yeah. But we don't see as much as you would think we are. We're a bunch of frustrated individuals.
You see him playing a little coy there? I caught that. I love Bobby. No, Bobby, I want a solution. And I keep asking everybody I talk to, okay, do we agree it's messed up? Yes. Do we agree it's just messed up? Yes. How do we fix it?
Well, I go back
Somebody's
to
got to come up with something.
Well, somebody's got to come up with something, but what's interesting is maybe I'll take a snapshot of it.
Yeah, please.
If you read Leon Trotsky, who
I know who he is.
Okay, so in one of Leon Trotsky's books that I read, and I've saved the page because it's fascinating.
I love that.
When he really goes to
That's
criticize capitalism, and he starts to go off. And when I read it, it was probably. We were going for the election. The election was coming up and everything, and talking about how we need a third party and the two parties are really bad and all. And Trotsky said in this book on this page, he says, capitalism. Here's what they're going to do: they're going to pretend that you're a free person, and they're going to pretend and scheme you into thinking that you have the right to an election and you matter. And as we've just discussed before, right, the democracy that we've shown through the delegates, the whole scam there with the primaries, we really don't have that at all, right? And he said, we're going to educate the people, but we're going to give you just enough education so you think you're educated. And anybody who looks at our public school system right now, and then you go to high school, it does not qualify as a world-class education. I think we're like 37th in the education in the world. I forget the exact number. So what he was saying essentially is that you think you're free and capitalism is fooling you, and that's exactly what the hell happens. I think that many of us truly think that we have a feel. And to Larry's point, then how do we fix it and why are the young people not voting? I think that they really feel that they've seen through the scam and we don't. I think there's so many people there that do not understand just what they have with the vote. And again, I'm not going Trump, I'm not going Kamala Harris, but when you see the easy way that the Republican Party and Trump have led these people to believe, whether it's, man, we believe that FEMA is against us, we believe that the election was fixed. That's insane that the election was fixed. There is no way that was fixed. I mean, just when you look at it, there's no evidence.
I think people understand that. I don't see where we're getting people, younger people, and I call them younger. Well, let's call them under 40, 30 maybe.
Boy, oh boy, that shows our age, huh? That young 40-year-old whippersnapper.
I was out last night partying, and there was one guy, 47. He goes, I'm old.
There's none.
Old?
I know.
old. I was jerking. I was in jail a year after you were born. You said something about books and reading.
Mm-hmm.
I went and ran and got my books. I still have. You can see these guys. Bobby. These are what they call cite books and very, very important legal books. These books are hundreds of dollars back in the day. I love this book. This is called what they call a cite book. Just a quick lesson for people to understand the law. As a licensed paralegal, I can't be a lawyer because I'm a felon.
Yeah.
It gave me advantages because I didn't have to use what they call legalese. I could tell a judge, this is bullshit. I took a class. You had to be a licensed paralegal. They had a federal judge come into the prison, and it would Tellini, me, about 12 of us, not even 12, maybe 10 of us. And we had a 2-day intense thing with a federal judge. And he was talking about how he goes, listen, he goes, you guys are the smartest guys in the system. Not just, I mean, the whole system. He goes, but you have your nuts like everybody else. You get the guy, filing because the milk was warm or some shit, you know what I mean?
Frivolous, yeah.
Frivolous, exactly. And you can't do that but once, actually. And then they could, what they call, classify you as a frivolous fuss. And then you can't, that's which is dangerous too. But my point was, I was 34 when I went, but I always was a big reader and stuff. And like you said,
love to read.
That's why I said all these ways, this is like, Bobby, all these marks, you made me smile. And I'm going to read some of them because what has happened is, that judge told us, he says, Larry, or all of us who were in the room, and he goes, how you present your is going to change the future of the kids. This really was very impactful for me. He says, you guys, they listen to. Like, kids listen to criminals. As sad as that is, you and I could be sitting in a room. And I don't mean that to be because I'm smarter than you. You're smarter than me. I will give you that.
I appreciate that.
No, I think you are.
You give me too much
credit.
credit.
You know what I meant. No, you're a smart guy. And Kyle's smarter than me. Kids are but they're going to listen to me. It's the way of the kids. They look at records. They look at things that who did you look up to? A teacher or a sports figure or somebody, your dad. Kids look up to rappers, gangsters. I looked up to Gotti. Not Gotti, was older guys. But so my point is, at how do I? And this is why that judge told me. He goes, you got to start writing your stuff. And I got some great briefs, and I won a lot of cases. But it's how you write. Obviously, you know my writing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know how to write.
I see the way you just plug it right after the show and you do your stuff. And I read your book. Obviously, I read your cookbook.
Bob, actually, to let everybody know, Bobby is one of the proofreaders on when we got the book back, and I thank you for that too, Bobby. It was important. I always kind of look at and if you ever notice my books, Bobby, they're hard sometimes, but there's a message there of you could change. I did it. Life's not over. It pisses me off. I get a 40-year-old guy gets out of jail, does that, and he loses his business job. I don't care what it is. Life's over. Fuck you. I got out of prison at 46 years old, in debt. They took $6 million from me. I mean, nothing. I got a record worse than anybody's. I got to pull it up for you guys. Oh my God!
Yeah, I want
how
to
bad
see
my
that.
record was. I will after, and I look at that and I say, how can I write something? Like when I did the law, to show, wait a minute, this kid's human. Listen, the United States got me so mad, and the reason I got into the law really is to help people, and I became a very big advocate to change the prison system. You know that. I mean, file the notice. I could talk to you about the CFR, which is Code of Federal Regulations, and how it comes down from law, and then what they have to follow for agencies and all that. And every time I did that, I looked at it and I say, okay, how's that going to help a kid or help somebody else, like young?
Right.
Because I'm at such a wit's end. I'm telling you, the kids, I hate to say this, the kids that I had on the show, it hurt me a little bit to the core. Because how do I change these kids' minds? I could try everything I can, and is it their upbringing, their parents' upbringing? You got to remember, Bobby, you and I are older than their parents. Most of the kids, you too. You too, Kyle. You ain't no youngster there. You look young.
Well, you're a little bit older than me. You're a year older than me.
No, I'm not. 20 days, you prick. Not even 16 days.
Now listen, right now I'm 62 and you're 63.
Oh, boy, that's a good one. I love it. You sound like my buddy Tom. My really is I'm looking at this, and here's why I wanted to write. Out of all the books that I've read, listen, these are what they call the Federal Code of Civil Procedure. I knew this book like you would know, literally. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could quote page. This is the Federal Criminal Codes and Rules. Of course, it's changed.
Sure.
But this is where I'll show you laws of sodomies and this and what's on the books and all. Sick, meaning our country's gone wacko. Yes, I have to say, and I'm a brag right now, I am the only ex-con who's in the congressional record. It's right there. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that? Yeah, I got that up there. That's the one thing I should put up. That and Marching for Reagan is up there. You seen that?
Yeah.
But
Ronnie,
my belief in this was so strong. It saved my life, truthfully, but I'm still a believer in it. A few things hurt me in the last, I'd say, 5 years. Crosley Green really did. The injustices that I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's
another human being, Bobby. Another human being looking and saying, fuck him. This guy, listen,
no matter what he did, I think that some bitch paid his debt to society.
But I have to read a few of these things. I end up finding a book. I didn't, Mike. Let me give a big shout out to my cousin Cheryl. I think you probably mentioned her.
She pops up on my Facebook now.
Does she really?
Yeah.
Say hello, please. That lady.
Well, I mean, she pops up as a friend suggestion.
Well, I'm saying, friend her.
Okay.
I'll tell her. Mm-hmm. That lady's the smartest woman I've ever met. She actually negotiates billion-dollar countries.
Yeah, and she was impressive when she was on the show.
Trust me, that lady is smart. Yeah. She saved my life in many, many ways. We're that close. She's the one who got me away from wanting to kill that guy so bad that
I was get rid of your anger.
I was consumed. Literally, I lived night and trust me, I know what to do. I had his murder planned and tortured, and sad as that is, I mean, for 5 years, I couldn't think of anything else. I was crazy, and I look back now at my history in prison. Stabbings and not caring about life and forget the tortures. Listen, I survived a lot. We all survive everything. You guys have wives. That's worse than my fucking torture. So, I like your wife. You know that. I love her.
She likes you too.
She's great. I tease the hell out of her, don't I? Yeah. Well, let me tell you why I want to bring
it. It was funny that time we went out there to eat, and she says, "Oh, he's such a normal guy." When we sat down there, like, "Oh, of course he is, man."
No. Tell her what really happened.
Oh,
did you hear about that?
Yeah,
tell the audience. You got to tell that story.
So
that's a great story.
The first time my wife met Larry, we went up to meet him, and it was a big public function. And we brought this up in one of the previous podcasts, but Larry is standing about 20 feet from us, and we get a clear view of him. And Larry adjusted himself in public. He had on a pair of gym shorts, and my wife sees that.
Typical.
But he turned right around and shook this person's hand. And my wife goes, "Oh my God, did you just see that?" And I said, I go, the funny thing is Larry doesn't wear underwear either, right? So she was just like, "Oh my God," right? So the next time I came on Larry's podcast, we talked about it. And the shame of it was, I didn't know that the microphones were live. So we talked about it just before the show started. And then when I went home and I told my wife, "Hey, I told Larry about that." And she's like, "Why would you do that? He should be embarrassed." No, you shouldn't have done that. "I don't believe you." Well, Nick left the mics on, and he put that onto the podcast. So when I played it for my wife, she was like half mortified and, "Oh my God," whatever.
Oh, you know me.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I told her. I go, "Listen, it's a guy thing. Trust me." Right?
Al Bundy.
Exactly.
Remember him, guys?
Yep. So we were out and about on one Sunday, and Larry got a hold of me and Larry's friend. They said, "Where you at?" So we meet in public in this bar, and Larry comes walking up to my wife and shoves his hand down his pants and sticks it in a very playful manner, respectful manner, which my wife thought was hysterical. And
I love your wife. She's really nice.
So my wife
she's cool.
says,
I can hang with her.
Yeah, she's real cool. And she says, "Well, Larry can hug me, but he can't shake my hand."
Well, when Bobby told me that, I do that. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't do that out of disrespect, grab my
not
cock
at all.
or anything like that. I got a big cock. I got to adjust it.
No wonder my hand's never in my pants.
No, it's just, guy. I mean, it really is.
I'm with you, right?
It's guys. I mean that, Kyle.
Exactly.
Right? I don't care who you are. And I didn't even think about it. I still don't remember it. I have not a clue I did that. You know that. And I had that was a big show. I mean, I had a show going.
Yeah, there was a lot of people
I
there.
I just met a
and-
guy that, I met an owner of the office. A shout out to a cigar shop that sells our cigars too in Cocoa Beach now, called The Office, and it's a nice and the kid goes, "Oh, don't you remember me from the 152 event?"
Yeah.
No,
Right.
Club 50.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of people,
sure.
and I mean us, we hang, so it's a little different. But I, caught myself. I literally caught myself. I go, holy fuck, because Nick will say, my mom,
he's like,
get
you
your
do it-
hands out of your pants. Yeah. I just think, I'm not playing with myself. I swear to God,
I know,
I'm
yeah.
not.
It's just.
I do enough of that, but I'm not really.
Well, I do
doing
that at home. When you're all by yourself,
And I do it in front of people. I'm Jeffrey Tubin. You know that one.
Yeah.
I want to read this. I really will give you this book to take it home. I really think you'll love it. It's what they call legal epigrams. Legal epigrams are things either famous people or law has said that we were allowed to use as paralegals where a lawyer can't. Lawyers have to play. Yeah, they have to play by legalese. They're under the bar. It's a whole different. It's a different set of laws.
Okay.
And we had an advantage because the judge told us, he says, listen, guys, when you're on point, you're not a crazy, is what he's saying. See, most people don't know. I got into the Supreme Court twice.
Wow.
That's hard.
That's extreme.
And we won one. It was remanded back to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeal. A guy named Bird, he had a life sentence. We had it remanded back to the 11th Circuit. It's called remanded. And we won what they call certiorari. Anyway, you have to understand how to get to a judge. Let me give you a little hint, people. Maybe any lawyer listen will really learn something. When you want to get into the Supreme Court, most of the times you file your brief. It has to be 30 pages or under. The moron lawyers go, I want an extension. Stupid. If you can't get it out in 30 pages, they're not going to read it. Judge told us that. Because we got clerks, we got people. You think we're reading 50 pages? If you can't get it in 30 pages, you don't know what you're doing. Literally. So they'll grant you that you can do it, but they're not going to read it. He literally told us that.
It's like a long resume. Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You're telling a story.
Right.
But what you do is you find a judge. See, the Supreme Court's got 9 justices, and everybody's supposed to send their briefs to the clerk of the United States Supreme Court. You have to do that. But the smart ones will take that same brief and send it to the judge, whether it's Kavanaugh now or Sotomayor or whichever it is, Gorsuch, Alito, whatever. You send it to the judge who said something in what they call a dissenting opinion. That's how much research you got to do. So I actually won a case. It's called the Almadeira Torres case with Justin Thomas, Clarence Thomas. He said in a dissenting post, I ruled wrongly on a case. Now he's telling the world, listen, I want to correct myself. Give me something. I can't go and get it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you send the brief to his clerk. Because every one of those Supreme Court justices get in a room and they fight for the cases they want to be heard. They only heard, they hear very little cases. Right. Mm-hmm. So you have to be smart enough to catch that judge who wants that case bad enough that he puts it on that docket. We're going to hear this.
Yeah, he wants to be an advocate for something.
Yep. In his own way. He wants to correct a bad decision or whatever he felt. Maybe he went home and his wife said, you stupid moron, what the fuck you doing? Whatever it is. But you have to read dissenting opinions. These lawyers are lazy today. People say, oh, Larry, you only did 10 years of the law. 10 years is equal to 30 years, being in prison. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's all I did. You got lawyers that 25 cases and they don't know shit. I start talking federal law to some lawyers. They go, I didn't know that. I go, and you're representing people for their lives. Yeah. For their lives, guys. The worst thing I always see in the law is people who let their lawyer do it all. See, you're smart enough that if you ever had an issue, you're going to bear down and read these books and know these thes and its and ands better than anybody.
After I call you.
Yeah, I absolutely. I knew I won my life sentence by beating a 924C. It's a gun charge.
Yeah.
I know that.
Well, that was that
924
BB gun.
Yeah, BB gun. I knew the 924C law. Listen, better than anybody. Because it's my life.
Yeah.
You think a lawyer gives a shit? I give him $100,000, which I gave him more. Oh, they don't give a shit.
No, the only time they give a shit if they can really make a name out of it.
Absolutely. You think Johnny Cock was here in your case?
Oh, fuck no. He's got
His
all his
fucking
other
associate bullshit guys going to hear that case.
Yep.
But I want to read a couple of these just so you get an idea what they. And I really want to give you the book, and I know you'll love it. And if you want to hand it to him next, because there's stuff I use to this day. U.S. versus Bonds. A flock of seagulls follow a lobster boat. A smile on Judge Dimmers. Watch this. The Money Changers. Remember the movie? The Money Changers? By Arthur Haley. Given any time at all, prison could only degrade and worsen him, could only increase his hatred of the system, which had sent him there, could only reduce the possibility of his becoming ever a useful law-abiding citizen. And the longer his sentence, the less likelihood there was of any moral salvage. I came up with after reading that, I came up with a system that could save a lot of young people. I don't care how many keys you do. If you don't hurt anybody, if there's nobody, being hurt, rape. I'm not talking rape or murders. Yeah. You should get 3 years. Get 3 years. Now do the 3. Now, if you come out and you do a crime, we're not going to bury you. We're going to give you 7. After 2 stints, you just did 10 years in the joint. First of all, you're getting older, which most people age out.
Yeah.
You do it again. You're a moron. 10 years. After that, you've been in 20 years, Bobby. You're already 50 years old.
Yeah, you're already
aged
20
out.
Years,
My point is, we just throw the most at people for all the wrong reasons. For revenge, for publicity, media. Oh, we got to bury this guy. Did you know I'm the only person on the internet, I don't know if you know this is true, that called the exact sentence Derek Chauvin got?
Yeah, you were saying that. I don't know what it is, but you said 17 and a half years?
No, 22 and a half years.
Okay.
I actually read everything in his PSI, which is called pre-sentence investigation. The day before his sentence, I did a podcast. That's why he can't be faked. Put it up and said, this is what's going to happen. And the fucking judge did the exact same sentence. And I said, anybody who got the exact sentence, that I was going to give him a trip. We watch the podcast. I was the only one who did it. Because understanding how they view things, how a judge views things. Mm-hmm. There's a case, there's one in here by President John Kennedy. And it's about him appointing 70 new federal judges. You know, every time a president comes into office, there's lingering appointments.
That's how Trump got so powerful.
Well, he got it because of the Supreme Court. I mean, yes, the smaller courts, but really the Supreme Court.
Well, what's his name? McConnell did a great job of delaying all those appointees. He stalled and stalled.
Oh, that turtle. Oh.
He's a good-looking guy, though.
Good looking. I wouldn't fuck him.
Then he's pretty.
No, he's real good looking. No. He is the world's worst. Watch this. Clarence Darrow. You know who he is?
Yeah.
He was an American lawyer, interviewed in the New York Times April 19th. There is no such thing as justice in or out of court. That's Clarence Darrow.
Yeah.
Think of that. There's no such thing as government. A government is a kind of legalized pillage. That was by Albert Hubert. Herbert Spencer, English philosopher, 1903. A jury is a group of 12 people of average ignorance.
I would agree with that. But it's like they sort of seek out the dumber people on a jury too, right?
Well, it's supposed to be a jury of your peers, obviously. Yeah. That's such a misnomer because, first of all,
they want people they can sway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have exemplary challenges. There's a whole bunch of things you can do.
What I'm saying.
But most cases, Bobby, are overturned in what they call voir dire. Mm-hmm. Voir dire is when you pick a jury. And that's where your most mistakes are made by both parties. And because I did a case where a guy, a lawyer, in the transcripts, fell asleep, was woken up 3 times by the judge. Woken up.
Yeah.
Lost the appeal.